everyone, my name is Michelle Kremser and we're here today with ELTAS Head to Head. Today we're interviewing our upcoming speaker, Rachel Paling. She's the founder of Neurolanguage Coaching. Come and take a look.
How many languages do you speak and which one is your favorite?
Well, it's always that question of to what degree do you speak languages? So if we go into the degrees of fluency, I'd start from top and go down. Obviously English, native language, then we've got French, Spanish, Italian, which I would say are fairly quite fluent. German, which is kind of like Strasse German. It's a little bit kind of like wild, but I can argue in German, okay. Which is the major point sometimes. Then Catalan. Definitely, I have quite a great understanding of Catalan because I've lived in Catalonia for so many years. And then I would say that I've got some baby Russian now and a little bit of baby Greek and some baby Arabic.
Okay, and which is your favorite language?
If we go into sounds, Spanish is definitely my favorite.
Right, okay. And which one was the most challenging to learn?
Ironically, I would say German was the most challenging to learn because I was living in Germany and in those years I was kind of coming into Italian. I was living in Germany, but I was never speaking German because all the Germans wanted to speak to me in English. And I was obviously training all day in English. So I never had the opportunity to speak and come into German. And I was there for about 6 years before I started to then come into the language. But one thing that really opened the door for me was when I started to connecting with the Germanic side of English. And then my brain just went, whoa, curiosity.
Right, yes. Okay.
Yes.
You've lived outside the UK for many years. Which place would you call your home?
It's interesting because before the pandemic struck, I was aiming to be a digital nomad. And that was my kind of aim, to have that sort of my home is anywhere that I lay my hat feeling. And I would say that could be the case if the world were normal again. But definitely, I identify and I feel more at home in Spain, especially in Catalonia, because this is where not many people know that, my father had a travel agency when I was a child. So even from the age of 6 months, I was coming to Sitges every year, 3 or 4 times a year. Right, and okay. That just became really my home. So whenever I go to Sitges, I just feel I'm back.
Okay, good.
Hopefully we'll have a conference there next year and then you'll all be able to come over.
You've recently founded the Neuroheart Education Foundation. Could you tell us a little bit about this foundation?
Well, ever since I founded Efficient Language Coaching in 2008, that was my driver in the background. I eventually wanted to create a foundation. In all of these years, since 2008, highly frustrated that I wasn't able to do it, and really had that as my motor in the background. And then last December, finally, we constituted the Neuroheart Education Foundation, because last year's conference, through the pandemic, because it was online, all of those proceeds for the conference we were then able to use to set up the foundation. And that was phenomenal. That was amazing. So we really did it because of the conference, because of the pandemic, and because of all the great support that people showed us in that conference last year. So now the future of Neuroheart Education Foundation, well, it's going to be focused on teacher training with a difference. And there I will be giving my new course, which is the Neuroheart Educators. And that will be for any teacher. So whether they are maths, physics, whatever they are, it really is about changing the way that teachers teach and changing, the persona of the educator, so that they come into a much deeper understanding of how to communicate better, how to get that brain-heart coherence with learners, how to really coach learners around issues and problems, and with compassion, with that compassionate approach, going beyond the empathy. That's one part. And on another side, we want to bring out homeschooling programs as well. So for children that can't afford it, for families that can't afford it, to really bring out a curricula that's, again, it's going to be different. It's not going to be the standard traditional. It's going to be really for the children of the 21st century.
Well, that sounds lovely.
Well, yes, we're kind of, this summer we're getting it all into place. And may I share some breaking news on your ELTAS video here? We've just got the ICF accreditation as well for that course.
Wow.
So
congratulations.
They're definitely going to be certified and accredited Neuroheart educational coaches.
Wow.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Exciting. Yeah.
Yes.
And hopefully in September we're going to be rolling. We're really going to be starting to give those courses worldwide. Yes.
So thank you, Rachel, very much for the time. I have a question for you. What do you think is the biggest hurdle as far as the second language acquisition is concerned for learners? What do you think is the biggest problem?
I would probably say firstly, mindset. And secondly, we're not living this concept of neuroplasticity enough. And I think, when I look back at myself over the age of 30, 40, coming into sort of that middle age bracket, the mindset that we have grown up with is very much that at a certain age, that's it. You can't learn anymore. You can't do anymore. Now, the interesting thing is that even this year, the neuroscientists are telling us that this prefrontal cortex doesn't actually develop until the early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. So, a person of that age, of the age of 30, we still have the capacity to learn like we did when we're in our teens, but the mindset and the limitations and the self-limitations, I think are really the first hurdle. And in that respect, I think as well, the way that teachers teach is a problem, because at that age, we don't want to be told what to do. We don't want to be in a learner's seat feeling small, feeling stupid, feeling that we don't know something. So how do we change that approach? And I do think that coaching provides a totally different approach, so that people over the age of 30 actually feel like they're interacting, not like they're being taught.
I guess my second question is, what do you think is the most decent approach in using a person's native language in teaching? Do you think it should be allowed?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. We have the research that now really tells us that when we learn a new language, the brain is going to the native areas first. It's trying to springboard. Now, not only the research, but when I look back in my life and I look back at my language learning, I have always been springboarding phenomenally. And, when I was at school, I did French, Latin, Greek. At the age of 15, I taught myself Spanish through love letters, plus French, plus Latin, and writing love letters with dictionaries and teach yourself Spanish books. And that's how I learned. I remember my first letter was a hybrid of French, Latin, and Spanish, and he understood.
Wow.
And that was the first door, it's like, wow, he understands me. So from there, from Spanish, I then went into Catalan, no lessons. Then I went into Italian, no lessons. I've never had lessons of Spanish, Catalan, or Italian in my life, but I'm very fluent in those languages. And then, as I said, with German, as soon as I opened the doors to say, right, what's the Germanic side of English? That was it. My brain just flooded with insights. So yes, the point is, how do we connect learners to the languages rather than they're always speaking in the native language. That's the difference. It's not that we're saying that they should be speaking in native all the time. What we're saying is they should be provoking insights and connections with the languages.
What, in your opinion, is the best way to motivate learners to keep on trying and not to give up?
Vera knows very well, and many of the neurolanguage coaches, we have a very specific approach to motivation, because we have to distinguish between the reasons for learning and the passion, drive, vision behind that. So it's almost like we're looking for, what's the golden carrot? What's the ultimate dream for this language that you're going to learn? Where's it going to take you? What's it going to change in your life? And I think if you've got a driver like that, it's about us becoming the sports coach and saying, come on, you're going to get this. Come on, and keep them with the vision. A little bit like, we've got Wimbledon coming up in a minute, soon, I think in a couple of weeks. It's that, the cup. What's the cup for learning this language? That's what we have to look for as a coach. And if we can find that, then we can keep that energy going. Definitely. But we have to find it first.
Okay, so Rachel, this is my first question. Is there a science this coaching is based on? And if so, what is it?
Well, I would say that the whole creation of neurolanguage coaching is bringing in coaching from the professional aspect, and it's bringing in the principles of neuroscience. Now, what we understand as neuroscience today, there are a lot of elements of social and emotional intelligence that now we're starting to understand from the neuroscientific perspective. So there are elements of emotional, social intelligence, I would say, brain sort of understanding of how the brain learns, how the brain reacts, how the brain functions, but it's also the understanding that each and every learner is different.
My next question is, Rachel, could you explain how this coaching method is different from others?
Well, as I said, we are bringing in aspects of professional coaching, and that brings the structure, the philosophy, the ethics, I'm going to say the coaching competences. And being a coach, it's not just about having a chat. It really is having skilled, mindful communication with learners to trigger the right answers, to trigger the right thought processes. So that's one part of the difference, the way that we communicate. Secondly, the whole structure is different. So there are certain things that I've created as our conversations, so the way that we handle motivation, the way that we go into mechanical goal settings, mastery goal settings, the way that we do the whole engagement with clients is different. Plus, that capacity to bring in, whenever we need to, what I call the golden nuggets of the neuroscience and of the brain, understanding to the learner, so that the learner also is able to understand self and help themselves to become autonomous and successful learners.
Okay, next question. What does neurolanguage coaching bring to educators that they don't already use intuitively?
A lot of people that come to do my course intuitively are using some of these aspects. And I do think, and I have this conversation with many of you educators out there, the learners have changed. And I think all of us over the last 20 years have been shifting and adapting intuitively, because we know that some of the things that we were doing before are not working anymore. So yes, many, many, many educators worldwide are intuitively changing. And what we are doing is really opening up that mindfulness of what is it that you're doing that's different, and how to enhance it, how to increase it, how to maximize the results, but also how to appreciate neurodiversity.
Okay.
Instead of, sorry, Michelle, instead of pushing people into boxes, You know, we've got to stop doing this, especially with children. We've got to allow that children are different to each other, and the beauty of neurodiversity.
So as a follow-up question, how is it that the learners have changed?
Well, I mean, life has changed. That's what evolution is about. You know, if we look back to prehistoric times, we have gone through a lot of changes. And if we think about the last 20 years, I mean, just when I think about my life, we've gone through so many technological changes, so many social changes, so many political changes. We've gone through so many, I'm going to say, environmental changes. Life has changed. And one of the major changes is technology. And we're all guilty of being hooked. Our brains have changed because of technology. You know, before we used to go and look for things and think about things and try to find things. I studied law, and we had to go to the law library. I would be sitting there for hours going through books and books and books. And now, you know, the click of a finger, it's there. You've got it. So we have also changed in the way that we are processing and taking in information. And that is something that we have to honor, because we're not going to go back. We're not going to go back to the old ways. We have to understand, where are we now and what do we need to do now with the learners? I would say keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing great, because I know that so many teachers over the last year have just done miracles. They've really changed a lot, created a lot, adapted a lot in the circumstances. And then I would say that the key question is awareness, mindfulness. Mindful of every single thing that we're saying, every single thing that we're doing. And the more aware we become, the more impact we can have.
Are you a teacher in an organization or looking for an organization like ELTAS? Please contact us at info@eltas.de. Also, if you'd like to participate in one of our videos, please contact us at social media at eltas.de. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Also, be sure to check out our other videos as well. Gracie approves, little girl, don't you? That's my baby girl. Can you speak? She doesn't want to. Bye.